Being a part of the community is a huge thing, especially when we're talking about Springdale schools. I love volunteering. Me and my mom, we volunteer to translate for Marshallese. I want to stay here and pour back into the community because growing up, the community gave so much to me and my growth as a child. This is such a great community for just Springdale in general. It's a great place to raise your family. I am Anna Norris, and I'm a portrait of a Springdale graduate.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of Springdale Today. My name is Mary Jordan. Joining me today is Dr. Stacey Plumlee. Today we're getting to know Dr. Plumlee a little bit better. She is the Springdale Public Schools Gifted and Talented Director and Learning Supports Assistant Director. The Arkansas Association of Educational Administrators has selected Stacey as the 2024 Administrator of the Year. And we're going to spend some time today getting to know Stacey a little bit more, as well as learning more about this amazing achievement. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Stacey, I'm always curious about what brings someone into education. What made you choose this as a career?
Right. It's really funny because I think I share a lot of the same story with a lot of people that I've talked with. But as a little girl, that's just something I knew I was always going to do. It did go back and forth a little bit as I got older and started exploring different careers, but I always wanted to be in that kind of servant leadership kind of role. Knew I wanted to help, knew I wanted to support people, didn't really know how, but teaching has always been something that it just was kind of a given that I was going to do, and I was lucky enough to be able to do that.
Well, and you shared with me earlier, too, that you grew up in Springdale.
I did. Yeah. So born and raised in Springdale. I've, had the pleasure to see it grow, it change, in good ways. And it's really been, something I'm really proud of, that I was raised here, went to school here, a Springdale graduate. And then now I'm part of the school community still, but just in a different way. But yeah, it's really neat to have the experiences I had growing up in Springdale and really be able to carry that over as an administrator, as an educator, because it was very special.
It is. And the fact that you've come back, it says a lot about your investment in the district, our students, our families. I'm always curious, too, what schools people attended.
Yeah. So as a child, I went to Westwood for kindergarten. That's how far back I go. And it was only half-day kindergarten back then. And then Elmdale, and no middle schools, and then Central Junior High, and then Springdale High School.
And what year did you graduate from Springdale?
93. 93. And then went to the University of Arkansas, where I got my bachelor's and my master's degrees. And then, like I said, came back to Springdale. I actually did my internship in Springdale. And so kind of got my foot in the door. Knew it was already the place I wanted to be, but it was wonderful to be able to do my internship here and get my start here. And then got my first job at Parson Hills under Maribel Childress. And I was a third grade teacher and taught for 3 years, and then knew I wanted to do something a little bit different. So it's really this position has really morphed into several different names, but it's been called a reading specialist, instructional specialist, instructional coach, but instructional facilitator. But I was able to be an instructional facilitator for 3 years before becoming an assistant principal, and then moved to Burness Young Elementary School, where I was an assistant principal. And did that for many, many, many years. And then I've moved into this role as the Gifted and Talented Director.
Very cool. So how many years altogether with Springdale Schools have you served now?
So I started in 2000. I did my internship in 99, started in 2000. So I guess 24, going on 25 years.
Well, and it's a big switch too, going from the classroom to administration. What was that transition like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. The reason, or a lot of the reasons why you get into education is because you love to be around children and you love the learning part that you get to see. That's the spark. That's why you get up every morning. And when you're not directly working with children, and that's really the whole reason why you started the career in the first place. It's something you kind of have to mourn. You're still working with them, just not in the same capacity as you would be as a teacher who's with them all day long and get to know them on such a different level. So that transition is tough. And then you're stretched in a different way because when you're working with adults, and yes, you're teaching, it's so different. It's so different to be teaching children and then adults. It's just a whole different kind of skills you have to really grow and stretch yourself. And was able to do that in that instructional facilitator position. And then definitely as an assistant principal.
Well, and now you're working in gifted and talented as an administrator. Can you help us understand what that is?
Yeah, definitely. So, and that's really a good question because I think a lot of people really don't know what that entails, what your day-to-day looks like. But just like anything in education, you have to stay up to date on current research. And I'm the only one in this position. I have there are other directors in Springdale that may have an assistant director or someone else, but I'm the only one who does what I do. When you're thinking about gifted services, you have to have some sort of protocol or system in order to say who's qualifies for gifted services and who doesn't qualify for gifted services. So that's going back to the research piece of that. You really have to be up to date on trends, on what does research say about who's considered gifted and talented, because that's really can be a topic that is touchy, because there is some people may have what they feel like what gifted may look like in their heads, and it might not always match what they see in front of them. So making sure we have the right protocols and assessments, that we're really truly up to date on all that the research is saying about identification of gifted students. And then there's the programming of gifted students. So your job's not over. You've got to make sure that your program is fitting and meeting the needs of who we have deemed then gifted, right? So we have to be thinking about programming. So again, that's a whole nother ball of wax that we have to be really thinking about outside the identification piece. What's really interesting and what's really fun about gifted is that gifted really is so layered. It's, again, everyone has something in their mind's eye when you hear the word gifted. But it's so much more than that, and it's evolved so much more from what we thought it was, or that Einstein picture, whatever we think it is. So we can have students who are considered 2E. And that just means you're twice exceptional. You could have some characteristics of or markers of dyslexia, but also be gifted. You could be a child who speaks another language and maybe just moved to this country, and you still may not be speaking English fluently, but you still are gifted. So it's making sure we have and find all the students who have those kinds of characteristics and making sure that that we're serving them in the correct way.
How are they identified? How do you find them?
Yeah. There's a couple of that. I love that question too. There's several different ways. There's not just one way. If there was just one way, we would lose. We would not be able to find the kids who we find. So when you think about identification, it usually comes from two different sources. It's usually the teacher, the classroom teacher, who says, they kind of see something that's a little bit different that we might need to explore. Or it could be a parent who might refer their child. But we and those are two different, and actually anyone can refer a child. A child can refer themselves for gifted testing if they wanted to, but even a community member, anyone could refer a child for gifted services. But so what would happen is that they would be referred. We would do then a battery of assessments. There are also assessments that they've already most likely participated in that would also be a part of what we are looking for. So we look at ability assessments, what could be used as an IQ, or you've probably heard about IQ test, but IQ tests are usually broken up into two different forms, roughly. You're going to have your verbal and you're going to have your nonverbal. Well, when you have students who may have dyslexia or have a reading disability or may not be speaking the English language fluently or proficiently, we need to have other measures to make sure that we're not losing or not finding these students. So our nonverbal assessments that we use to help identify our students is very, very important. And we really do put an emphasis on those kinds of assessments to ensure that we have a very well-rounded program, and that our students who are in GT look just like the overall population that attend Springdale schools. So they would do ability. We would check the achievement. So in the past, that would have been ACT Aspire or our MAP testing. Now we've shifted over to different assessments in Arkansas. So Atlas, and it might be just even your formative assessments that you're given, that classroom teachers are given in the classroom on a weekly basis. So and then there's also a creativity assessment. And when you hear creativity, a lot of folks think, "Oh, art! Oh, that it's art!" And when they go to art and they see this beautiful piece that someone made, that they're so creative. Well, that's actually there's a different understanding or the way we even assess creativity. And when we're looking at gifted services or looking for students who even might be identified as gifted. So creativity is really about your flexibility in your thinking. It's how innovative you are, how fluent you are. It's much different than art, and that's just really that's a misunderstanding about gifted. So we do the ability assessments, we do the achievement, we do creativity, and then we also do some checklist kind of things to see what our parents seeing at home, what our teachers seeing in the classroom. And there's just a different line of questioning so that we're really trying to get the full picture of who this child is.
And about what grade do you start having those conversations?
Yeah. You can actually have those conversations pre-K to 12 because it could be that whatever it may take a while for something to really be able to stand out. So we can have those conversations at any point, but when we are serving students, our actual resources classes that we have for gifted start in third grade, and they go to seventh grade when we're talking about just gifted resource classes, which just means that they're going to a class with other gifted students, and then going back to their classroom. But after seventh grade, it's not that it stops. We offer AP classes, we offer advanced classes, we offer IB classes and concurrent classes, and so they're getting their needs met in other ways, and even if it's advanced art or advanced choir, that they're going to be able to continue and grow those gifts that they have. But it won't just be in a pull-out and setting. It'll be more in a specialized class setting.
I really like, though, how it really ranges, I mean, from math and science to choir. I mean, whatever student's passion may be. That's really cool. Now, about how many kids are actually impacted by this program?
Yeah, so we have about 2,200 students who are identified in the district. But our GT facilitators also go into our kindergarten and first and second grade classes, because we actually call that enrichment, but they go and they work on thinking processes, because it's another child find, to be able to find students who may be gifted. And so we want to make sure that they're getting face-to-face with all kindergarten, first, and second grade. So they push lessons out on 3 weeks out of a month, and then they go in and do a face-to-face lesson once a month, just so that they're taking work samples, they're taking anecdotal notes, and just, making those observations so that, again, no child is slipping through the cracks. It's really gifted services is really an interesting, really a place that a lot of people don't talk about in education, because, like I said, it can sometimes have a kind of a privilege or a negative connotation to it, but where giftedness comes across every ethnicity, every race, every socioeconomic level. There's giftedness everywhere, and it is our job to make sure we are finding and identifying these students, and then making sure we're meeting their needs all the way through school.
Do you have any situations that stand out to you over the years that have kind of told you that you're in the right place, that you're doing the right thing for a living?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we get that confirmation all the time, and you get that confirmation as a teacher, and you think to yourself, "Oh yeah, this is what I was born to do." And it's those moments when you do see a child learning something that maybe they struggled through, and then they got it, or but you're always, you just are, that's what keeps everybody going, right? Because it's an exhausting job. But I was a teacher. I thought, yes, this is what I was born to do. This is what I was meant to do. And then I became an instructional facilitator, and I started to work with adults, and got to model lessons, and be collaborating on a level that I didn't really get to do as a teacher. And I thought, oh yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. And I've done that in every position I've been in. I think this is what I was born to do. So I have those moments in every place, and that's again what makes it just that's what gets you up every day, is that those moments. And sometimes they're super small, but they're big, in a child's eyes. They're big. So that's what keeps your motor going for sure.
Well, and then what was it like then to be recognized as a 2024 Administrator of the Year?
Yeah. It's really funny because it's such an honor, first off. I mean, it's such an honor and something I would never, ever minimize. But you're never in this place by yourself. You're never here by yourself. And you have so many people who have seen something in you, who have worked with you, who've taken you under their wing. Um, all along the way, who believed in you. And it's really about, even though you are getting an award like that, it's really so much about the people who have helped you and supported you all along the way, because there's so many.
Well, and then did you receive anything for the recognition? I saw a photo of you with a plaque.
Yep. So I got a wonderful plaque, and of course, the recognition, and I, this is kind of funny. I got an email, I don't know, several weeks after I was recognized and received the award. But I got an email from the Naturals, someone that was coordinated with the Naturals baseball league, and they wanted me to come throw in a first pitch. And I thought, I can't do that. What in the world? I cannot do that. And I thought, no, I'm going to do this. This is something that I'll never get to do again, and get to have my family come and be a part of it. So I got to go throw in the first pitch to one of the Naturals games.
Did you make it over the plate?
It did make it over the plate. It was straight. It did bounce, but I was told that it's better that it's straight and bounces than if it goes, off to the side or hit someone else. Wasn't intended to.
I'll keep that critique in mind when I throw out a first pitch somewhere.
It will happen for you one day.
Right. So I should read you that I have a military background. And what I've discovered is that leaders always have a philosophy that kind of steers the manner in which they lead and they work with people. Do you have any philosophies that you bring to work with you when you're working with your staff and families?
Yeah, I do. And it's kind of been a motto of Springdale schools from years and years past. But every decision, you have to put the child in the middle, every single one. Keeping that philosophy, because you do have to have some difficult conversations with adults. It could be parents, it could be teachers, it could be just your coworkers. You have to have some difficult conversations. But if you can say it's because of this kid or this group of kids or whatever, and know that's what's pushing you forward, that makes the conversation not any easier, but it just makes you have a little bit more courage, because it's not about you. It's about making sure that you're keeping that always at the forefront. How does this affect students?
Was there anything that you discovered either about your field or yourself as you became an administrator?
Yeah, I did. Leadership qualities, sometimes you're born with them. Sometimes it might not be one of your strengths, or part of what a leader may need might not be one of your strengths. So you're leading people that are putting trust in you, and putting trust in you in so many different ways. because they're seeing you as a leader, but they're seeing you as someone who is going to be doing the work behind the scenes. And so when you hear of the servant leadership, it's anytime you're in, especially in a school setting, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. And I would probably prefer to be behind the scenes and not always be in front. And that was something I really had to grow and do better. One funny story is it was so hard for me to get up in front of and talk in front of people. It just was so difficult. And I really had to practice it and really talk myself up to do it. And then when I did, my voice would shake and I could feel my knees knocking. And so Maribel Childress, like I said, she hired me in my first teaching position. And she said, I went to her and I said, I have a interview for an assistant principal job. And I said, do you have any advice? Do you have anything that I need to know before going in? She goes, yeah. She goes, I want you to wear a turtleneck. And I said, what? She goes, I want you to wear a turtleneck. She goes, you splotch all the way up when you get nervous. And that, if you wore something that covered it up, they wouldn't know. And that has always stuck with me. And I've always gotten a really good giggle. And I've even reminded her of that. And maybe she'll watch this and be reminded of it again. But I got such a chuckle out of that. But I think I'm out of the splotchiness stage and feel like I can have some confidence when I'm speaking. And I think I've grown in that area for sure. But that was something that was tough for me to get in front and kind of say, come on, folks, let's walk with me. And that was hard. That was tough. I was a shy child, and that was something I had to really overcome as a leader.
Well, I can verify for listeners that you are indeed splotch free. And did you wear a turtleneck then?
Oh, I'm probably, because I probably did everything that she told me to do, and I probably did. I don't remember, but yeah, I probably did.
That's good for you. Thank you for sharing that story, Ricky. Do you have any thoughts about what comes next for you, either personally or professionally?
Yeah. Well, I've got my husband who works for Tyson Foods, and so we're pretty planted in Springdale or Northwest Arkansas. I have a daughter who is a fifth grader at Young Elementary School, and I have a son who's a seventh grader at Hellstern. So we're reaching some times in our lives that they need to be pretty planted. So I really don't see us moving or doing anything too drastic. I've been, I toy with the idea of my doctorate is in curriculum and instruction. A lot of people would ask, why didn't you do something in gifted? And I was able to really center my dissertation around gifted education. But through that process, I have such a love for curriculum and like I said, working with adults and really it's just about bettering ourselves and pushing ourselves and because education's ever changing and you cannot ever relax. So it's I definitely see myself in the education field working and around teaching and learning. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll always be with gifted education or if it'll be something different. I don't know, but I'm open to it.
Well, good. And like ever changing is just like the perfect word to describe education. There's always we're always learning something new about learning, about how to learn better.
For sure. For sure.
I really want to thank you for everything you shared with us today. I really learned a lot through our conversation. I appreciate that.
Good.
Is there anything you wanted to share that maybe I haven't considered asking you?
Well, I do. So one thing about gifted education that I think is kind of a myth. and it's more about, I guess, maybe the identification of gifted students, that when we are talking about, say we're doing a CTM, and all the fourth grade teachers are meeting, it's so easy to say, these kids over here, they're okay. We don't have to worry about them. So let's talk about these kids over here that might not be proficient, and I'm not saying that's not important, because that's very, very important. But when we are looking at that saying, all means all, that means every child deserves to learn something new every single day. And if a child comes in already knowing the curriculum, that fourth grade curriculum, it is our job to make sure that they are still excited and motivated and driven. Those things can kind of fall away if we're not putting something in front of them that's challenging, or we don't want them to lose their motivation, what they're excited about learning, that spark. We don't want them to ever lose that. So when we're having those conversations, I just challenge you to think about the ones who are okay, who do know it. What are their next steps in their learning? Because they also deserve to be learning and be excited and continue that burn inside of them to want to find new information and that excitement. So that is probably something, if nothing else, to walk away with today, is that we need to ensure that we're extending, that we're pushing our kids every day, no matter what level they're on.
Thank you for that insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for being here with us today. I hope that we'll have more opportunities to talk with you in the future. And I can't wait to see what you do next. It sounds like you're not staying put. No matter what, you're moving forward in some way or another.
Some way or another. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Springdale Today. I'm Mary Jordan, your host, and we look forward to talking to you next time about what's happening at Springdale Today.
Springdale Today is a production of the Springdale Public Schools Communications Office.
The podcast is hosted by Mary Jordan and is produced and edited by Micah DeLacy.
Be sure to subscribe to Springdale Today for free on your favorite podcast platform.
And don't forget to follow Springdale Today on social media for episode updates
and behind-the-scenes conversations.
Thank you for listening. We hope you will join us in the future as we continue to learn about the amazing stories happening in Springdale today.